High above the Earth, something strange orbits in silence. It isn't ours, and some say it's thousands of years old. Is it a relic, a probe, or something more mysterious? It's been photographed, tracked, and whispered about. However, its true origin remains unknown. This is the theory of the Black Knight satellite. I'm Ben,
I'm Logan.
and this is Small Talk.
All right.
Welcome back to episode
5.
Is this 5?
This is number 5.
Wow, I was gonna say 3.
Nope. Episode 5.
Wonderful. Okay.
Episode 5.
Episode 5 of Small Talk, where things are a little shorter, a little less serious, but still just as fun.
Ben's already a little buzzed.
You can't prove that.
You said you were.
Yeah, I am. Okay. So, not hopefully, but more than likely it's going to be a little bit of a shorter one because I feel like our small talks have ran a little long lately.
Titanic was nearly 40 minutes last week.
Yeah, and we've had main episodes not be that long, so.
Yeah.
Yeah. So let's go ahead and jump into it. Do you
Let's
know
do it.
anything about the Black Knight satellite?
I know absolutely nothing.
Cool. I didn't either until I did. Well, take it back. I knew a little bit. Didn't know it went to the links that I'm about to go to.
Okay.
Okay.
Cool.
So, in essence, this theory claims that there is a mysterious artificial object in a polar orbit around Earth that is possibly thousands of years old. As I also said, it's been observed by humans, and there are photos of it out there that I'm going to show you once we, talk about this a little while longer.
Right on.
Cool. So the first recorded possible experiences of the Black Knight satellite were in 1899. I'm sure you're familiar with this person. Nikola Tesla was experimenting with a high voltage transmitter in Colorado Springs, Colorado, and he claimed to begin receiving, quote, repeating electrical signals that he interpreted to be extraterrestrial in origin. He initially believed these sounded intelligent in pattern. So pretty much in 1899, he thought that it's not possible for him to be receiving these patterns, essentially, of radio transmissions. So he thought immediately, he's like, well, this is extraterrestrial because this isn't possible. Obviously, it'd be possible today, but not back then.
Yeah.
He wrote in his notes that they were received in a, quote, 1, 2, 3, 4 pattern, pausing after each 4 in the sequence in a deliberate sequence. The only possible explanation for this at the time was natural radio emissions from space, as we now know that neutron stars can emit repeating radio bursts in the right conditions. Also, there were reportedly a few long-range radio experiments outside of Tesla's work, but nothing that obviously could be confirmed, given this was 130-ish years ago.
Okay.
So he receives strange radio signals from somewhere. Has no idea where they came from.
Likely something from outer space. Is there any likelihood that this could be coming from Earth, bouncing off the atmosphere?
From the Earth, the only way that this could come from Earth is if there was somebody else who was also experimenting, and this is just from what I understood, because you got, again, this was in 1899, so
okay.
Put yourself in the shoes of somebody that there's not even really electricity yet. So you're receiving patterned sequence numbers and repeating signals coming from another source that you've never received before. And you aren't aware of anybody else doing these long-range, like high-voltage transmitter tests with these radio waves. So in theory, to answer your question, yes, it is possible that it came from Earth. It's just not very likely.
There would have to be someone else doing these tests that is completely unknown to history.
Completely unknown to history and pointed directly at him.
Okay.
Because he was pointed directly at the sky.
Okay. Understood. All right.
Okay. So fast forward a few decades. There were stories in between here and there. However, I couldn't add every single story, or this would just have to be a main episode.
Sure.
So fast forward to 1920s and 1930s, which was known as the long delay echo phenomenon, which was detected by Jørgen Hals, who was a Norwegian radio engineer. Long delay echoes, or LDEs for short, are echoes of radio transmissions that return many seconds later instead of instantly. For example, you can bounce radio waves off the moon, and it will take roughly 2 seconds to return to you, as radio waves travel the speed of light. If you bounce a radio wave off of a satellite in orbit, it would return to you in roughly 2/10 of a second. However, when Jorgen was doing radio wave experiments, he noted that the waves were not returning to him in the expected time of less than 3 seconds. However, his waves were returning to him in 10 to 15 seconds. Scientists over the years have speculated that this could be due to either ionospheric effects. I don't know what the hell that means. But conspiracy theorists believe these radio waves were being received and transmitted by an artificial object that was in Earth's orbit. So pretty much, to explain that, because this took me a little bit to understand. If you, I'm just going to say it as if I was explaining it to myself. You launch a radio wave at the moon. It's going to take 2-3 seconds to get back to you.
Okay.
If you launch a radio wave at a satellite in orbit, it's going to take, 2/10 of a second.
Mm-hmm.
It took 10 to 15 seconds. Meaning, or at least this was the theory, something was receiving that transmission, processing it, and then sending it back. It's not possible for you to send a radio transmission or a radio wave into space and it take 15 seconds to get back to you, unless it went to something unbelievably far away that you just so happen to luckily hit, which is the odds of that happening are as close to zero as you can be, or something was processing these waves and then sending them back.
See, that's exactly where my mind went. To me, quick math tells you bounced off something that was 5 times the distance the moon away.
So that would make sense, but the moon is close enough to where back then in the 1920s, you could consistently hit the moon with a radio wave. You start talking about something that's 1,000,000 miles away, we're moving too fast and it's moving too fast for you to, because he did this hundreds of times, where he launched this radio wave at what he thought was the moon. I guess either missing the moon or maybe he was just firing it out into space. I don't know. But it was the consistency of him receiving this wave back 10 to 15 seconds later.
So essentially we have 2 schools of thought. Either
it's whatever you want to believe, yeah.
You are bouncing off of something 5 times the distance of the moon away and it's coming back.
Mm-hmm.
Or there is an object in low Earth orbit that is taking this signal, doing something with it,
processing it,
and then shooting it back.
Yeah, essentially.
So, okay.
I'm going to hold my thoughts on the Black Knight satellite for the very end.
Sounds good to me.
Okay. So that's these are, I'm just going over the most popular or famous or whatever sightings. There are hundreds of quote unquote interactions with the Black Knight satellite. So again, there's a few more sightings over the course of the next few decades as well. However, nothing that I could find that was super concrete or worth mentioning. Until 1954, when UFO researcher Donald Kehoe, who is a retired Marine Corps major, claimed that the United States Air Force had detected 2 satellites in Earth's orbit, 3 years before the Sputnik 1 was launched in 1957. So he either had prior knowledge to the idea of satellites, or he just completely guessed and just was right. Because he claims that the United States government detected satellites before the launch of a satellite, ever.
What I was doing, I know you saw me on my phone, I was trying to determine if there was an object that was about 1,000,000 miles away from Earth. Maybe a celestial body.
Probably.
I thought it may have been Mars. Mars is way further away than 1,000,000 miles. Didn't know that.
Okay, I didn't know that either.
It's 140 million miles away.
Okay. So that, well, I just threw 1,000,000 miles out there. I don't know.
Well, the moon is 238,000 miles away.
Okay.
So 5 times that.
Well, if it took two, yeah, you could say 5 to 6 times that.
Yeah.
So about 1.5 million maybe, between there somewhere.
In any case, it's definitely over 1 million miles, not quite 2 million.
Yeah,
So
so
you're looking
not-
in that range.
So not far away at all for the idea of it bouncing off of something else.
Yeah.
I don't know.
To me, at this point, I'll save all of my thoughts to the end.
Yeah.
It bouncing off of something randomly in space and coming back makes more sense than an unknown satellite collecting
At that point,
the signal.
you would have to have something large enough to, I mean, be seen. Because if you're 140th closer than Mars, that's an object that is visible from Earth. Because if the moon's only 200,000 miles away, you see it clear as day. And if he's consistently bouncing a signal off of it. Anyway, moving on. So, like I said, he detected 2 satellites in Earth's orbit 3 years before Sputnik was launched in 1957. He states that the United States government was aware of an ancient alien civilization that observed Earth via these, quote, satellites that had been detected orbiting Earth. Or that's what he claims. So the idea of a man-made satellite at this time was considered somewhat futuristic. I see you laughing over there.
I was on board
Yeah.
till you mentioned an ancient alien civilization.
Just hold on tight.
Okay.
All right, just hold on tight.
Okay.
So the idea of a man-made satellite is right now considered pretty futuristic because, again, none have been launched yet. It's 1954. Considering no nation has ever launched a satellite. The Pentagon and Soviet Union both denied knowing anything about the object, and neither one of them claimed it as their own. So fast forward to February of 1960. The United States Navy reported a detection of a, quote, dark object in polar orbit via its dark fence radar network, which is part of its naval space surveillance system. Navy radar operators detected a large dark object orbiting Earth in an unusual trajectory, as no nation on Earth had the ability to launch any satellite in this trajectory at this time, which was known as a polar orbit. A polar orbit is where a satellite orbits Earth and passes directly over the Earth's poles, which, again, not yet done by any nation. Descriptions of the time noted it to be, quote, dark, non-reflective, and tumbling end to end, which made it a very difficult to track. Within 48 hours of the Navy detecting this object, the United States Department of Defense stated publicly that the unknown object was actually a piece of the Air Force's Discoverer 8 satellite's rocket casing. So within 48 hours of this thing being detected, the Department of Defense steps up and says, oh yeah, that's ours. Sorry, we lost it. It's kind of convenient. That's quick. 48 hours? You identified what this was in 48 hours? He's giving me a look.
I'm going to hold my thoughts until the end.
Okay. Of this rocket casing, which was launched in 1959. According to their statement, this particular piece of the object had been lost in orbit and was only found once it had shifted into this polar orbit. Once this statement was made, the narrative around this object completely died. So, this takes us to December of 1998.
Hey, we're alive at this point.
We are alive.
Mm-hmm.
Both of us. You're only a couple months old. I'm about 8 months old at this point.
I'm 3 months old.
Yeah. So we're getting on up in age to where we should remember this.
What?
Yeah,
How would we remember this?
So in December of 1998, on the shuttle Endeavour, which was on mission STS-88, which was the first International Space Station assembly mission to deliver and connect U.S. and Russian modules together to begin forming the International Space Station. During this mission, the astronauts aboard the Endeavour took photos of a large, oddly shaped dark object orbiting the Earth. NASA publicly released these photos with the explanation that the object was a thermal blanket that had drifted away during a routine spacewalk. So I have here, show you a picture of the object that was photographed. Okay, here it is. What are your thoughts?
I've seen this.
You've seen it.
I've seen this.
Okay.
I didn't know it had a name.
Yeah, that is what is known as Black Knight satellite.
Okay.
Does that to you look like it could be a thermal blanket? Which obviously, I don't know what a thermal blanket looks like. I've looked up pictures of a thermal blanket.
Okay.
It does not look like that.
Maybe you could look at this picture of a thermal blanket.
Let me see it. That does not look like a blanket to me.
Well, I will say this thing looks more like a thermal blanket than it does alien spacecraft.
Could be. Could be. Could be. Okay. So, you've seen the picture.
Yep.
Officially, NASA has labeled this as, quote, space debris and thermal insulation in their archives. Though, obviously many conspiracy theorists argue that this is not a blanket. As of right now, no real confessions or evidence have come forward definitively proving or disproving the existence of this satellite. What are your thoughts?
Okay. Pardon. So, I think we as humans love the unknown.
Mm-hmm.
And because NASA can't say definitively what this is exactly.
Well, they definitively have labeled it as space debris.
But they can't say it is this item.
Sure.
So because NASA can't outright say it's this, that leaves room for interpretation.
For sure.
We know nothing about space. It's so fascinating, even to people that don't really care.
Oh, yeah.
Space is fascinating, period. I think it's a lot of fun to speculate. I think it makes more sense that those radio signals bounced off of some celestial object we just can't see, even at 1,000,000 miles, and came back.
Me personally, I do not believe the Black Knight satellite exists in any way, shape, or form.
Yeah.
I think whether or not this is space debris, it's certainly not a very small object that just so happened to float right by. It does not look like a space blanket or a thermal blanket, whatever.
I've never seen one in person. I don't know.
I haven't either. Plus, they're in space. Light is completely different in places with gravity. Also, are they on the dark side or light side of the Earth? I'm not buying it.
I think in this case, I think NASA told us the truth. It's a piece of space debris that has nothing to do with the radio signals.
I think they told us their best guess.
Yeah, okay, yes, that makes more sense, yes.
Because also another thing is that thing does not look very big.
No.
You're telling me that, Jesus, I forgot his name, Jorgen Halls successfully bounced a radio wave off this thing multiple times. I mean, the thing is the size of like a car, I guess. I don't know. Yeah. If it's a thermal blanket, it can't be that big.
You also can't rule out equipment malfunction.
Yeah.
Maybe their stuff just wasn't working right. Maybe it is bouncing off the moon. There's a delay. There's a delay that just can't be explained.
Yeah, unexplainable.
Yeah.
Strange delay. Maybe, I don't know. Like,
Maybe
I don't know enough about radio waves to even make an educated guess. I thought it was interesting. There is a humongous community that believes in the idea of a Black Knight satellite.
Again, it's like the Titanic switch and the Flintville monster and everything else we covered on Small Talk. It's not going to hurt anybody for you to believe this is alien spacecraft.
100%.
Believe it if you want to.
Now, do I believe that aliens have at some point interacted with Earth or humans? Absolutely.
Not life or death. You can. I mean, whatever.
Well, people have probably died from it, but
well, that's a skill issue at that point.
Not us.
Yeah.
Little green man ain't doing shit to me. But yeah, that.
No, I mean it is laughable. I don't think this is anything.
Me neither. I don't. I like to imagine that it's real.
Yeah.
I would. The story that these people were trying to put together the International Space Station. They look out. Holy shit! There's a little floating alien artifact going right by them.
Yeah.
I think that's fascinating.
There is where your explanation comes from.
Yeah.
You can't say what it is, so it is completely open for speculation.
Yeah, and well, not being able to say what it is definitively is probably the biggest piece of evidence that it has in favor of the conspiracy being true. Because the fact that like NASA can't definitively identify it, that's a little weird. Because you would think everything in Earth's orbit would be identifiable, even if it's just an asteroid that just so happened to get caught in the orbit. And it being in a polar orbit, that's also really odd.
So you mean it's hitting both the poles?
Right, so it's going... Essentially, you have what is called an equatorial orbit, meaning that, which is what most satellites orbit today.
Around the equator.
Meaning that it follows the rotation of the Earth. So if you could follow it, it literally just stays in Earth's rotation and follows the Earth. It just catches that little piece of gravity and it just circles forever.
Okay.
Polar orbit means it's essentially working against the Earth's gravity, meaning it would have to be propelled. It would have to have some sort of propulsion pushing it around the polar or the northern and southern poles of the Earth, because it's not a natural orbit.
Got it.
So that is odd. The fact that it was in a polar orbit should technically mean that it had some sort of something propelling it in that.
Okay.
Which I think lays the groundwork for it being part of a rocket booster. Maybe that's just the trajectory it was on when it broke off, and it just stayed.
Again, if NASA were to give us a part number, am I muted?
No.
Okay.
You're just a little quieter.
If NASA were to give us a part number, all NASA has to do is drop a part number. It's this. Here's the part number.
And they don't know.
Yeah. But I'm saying, if we had that piece of information, this would be nothing. This
wouldn't even be a theory. It'd still be a theory. It would be minuscule compared to what it is today.
Oh, there's still going to be people that are like, oh, NASA, they're lying about everything.
Yeah. Which, it's a fair opinion to have, I guess. It's a skeptical opinion to have, to not believe anything ever.
I think that stems from we're innately interested in space, and we have no answers for most of the questions.
I mean, we know anything outside of our immediate atmosphere. We know nothing.
No.
We don't know a single thing. We don't even know what's on the dark side of the moon. Because the moon's face is always the same. The dark side of the moon has never been explored, never been...
Didn't the Apollo missions land on the dark side of the moon?
No.
You sure?
No, I'm not sure. I answered that completely, 100%. I have no idea.
Okay, I like the confidence.
Yeah.
All right. Well,
I do know the moon rotates with us, so you're always seeing the same face of the moon.
Yeah, that's for sure.
Well, thanks for tuning in. Like I said at the beginning, these are going to start being a little shorter, I think, because these have been kind of getting away from us, and they've been a little longer than we've wanted them to be. But thank you for tuning in. We have new episodes every Tuesday and every Friday. And if you enjoyed this episode, don't forget to follow, rate the show wherever you get your podcasts. It helps a lot more than you know. Be sure to follow us on Instagram, TikTok, YouTube, where we post episode teasers, behind-the-scenes content, plenty more weird shit we do not have time to cover in these episodes. Again, new episodes every Tuesday and Friday. Find us wherever you get your podcasts. Thanks for listening, and until next week, put on your tinfoil, grab yourself a beer, and this has been Small Talk.
Bye.
Love you, bye.